everyone, it's Missy, and today I am going to be canning tomatoes packed in water. And you see that I have some Roma tomatoes before me. Our garden hasn't been doing too well, so I only have a few to can, which gives me the opportunity to use my Autocanner. So this is the Freshtech Autocanner, and inside I have my 3 jars. One fell over, but that's okay. This recipe calls for either 4 pint jars or 3 quart jars. So I have my jars in my Autocanner, and they are all sitting there, and I'm going to preheat those later on. My other setup is I have my canning tools all set up, ready to go. I will be using citric acid. You can use lemon juice in this recipe if you prefer. I have my lids in one pot over here. I have 4 cups of water that will be coming to a boil in this pot that I'll be using to pack with the tomato, or when I pack the tomatoes. This is a pot of boiling water, so that way I can put the tomatoes in to slip the skins off. I have my bowl of ice water. This would be my scrap bucket for putting the skins in and the core. And then I'm just going to put my tomatoes over here because with raw pack method, I don't have to heat them. So I'm just going to put them in a bowl here so that way they're ready to go into the jars. And then yes, I have my slotted spoon to transfer the tomatoes from one bowl onto the next. So that is everything. Once my water comes to a boil, I'll come back and show you how. Okay, so now that my water is boiling, my tomatoes are ready to be blanched. And all I did is I just rinsed the tomatoes, and then I took the stem off the tomatoes. You can see I have a bad spot too. I'll be cutting that out later. But all I'm going to do is just drop the tomatoes in. Probably going to just do 4. And then I'm just going to have them sit in the water for 30 to 60 seconds or until their skins start to crack or loosen from the tomato itself. Okay, you can see that the skin has started to crack, and all I do is I take the tomatoes and immediately put them in the ice water to cool them down. And then I'll just keep working in batches. The tomatoes can sit in the ice water, that's not a problem. So I'm just going to work in batches until I have them all in the ice water. Okay, so now all my tomatoes are in the ice water bath. As you can see, this one, the skin's just coming off on its own. I'll just take that out of the water, and that's basically all you're doing is just taking your fingers and just pulling the skin right off. And it should slip off easily if the tomato has been blanched appropriately and if it's ripe. If they're not ripe enough, I have issues. But that's all I do, and then I just cut out the core. I just take a knife and just cut out that stem part. I can't do it because I'm holding onto the camera, but I'll show you what it looks like when I get that out. Okay, so I just took the tip of my knife and I just cut a small circle around the stem, and then I just pulled the core out. So that's what it looks like after the core, the stem part, has been taken out. And then I'm canning my tomatoes whole. Now this is where you could cut them in half, you could quarter them, and you can can them that way as well, but I'm just going to can these whole. So I'm just going to do this with the rest of the tomatoes, and we'll be ready to can. Except I do need to preheat my jars, and to do that I make sure that the lid is sealed. You select the preheat function, and then you just click start. So my jars will be ready in 12 minutes, and by then I should be ready to can. Alright, my jars are preheated and I'm ready to can. So I'm just going to lift the lid, and I'm just going to quick grab a jar. Place it over here, and then I'm just going back and shutting the lid to keep my jars hot. There we go. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is add, this is a pint jar, so I'm just going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of citric acid to the jar. And then I'm also going to have the recipe link below, you guys, so that way you can determine the lemon juice quantity. You can also add salt optionally if you choose. And then I'm just going to add the tomatoes into the jar until it reaches 1-inch headspace. And it's not going to take too many tomatoes to do that. Okay, so I got the tomatoes in the jar, so now I'm going to add the liquid. And that's the boiling water that I have set off to the side over here. Just going to take and ladle the liquid into the jar. I do have a funnel, but I think I'll be okay doing it just this way. This is a wide mouth jar, so. Alright, I'm going to stop right there. I have a wooden skewer to kind of poke out the bubbles that may be lurking. Yep, that's what I figured. I have to add a little bit more liquid. There. And then to measure my headspace, I have the tool. And this one's kind of poking up on me, but that's 1 inch. If you don't have the inch tool, it's usually this line down here, that's 1 inch. But once you have that, all you need to do is take a dampened cloth and wipe the rim of the jar. And this helps clean the rim so the lid will stick or seal appropriately. And then I have my lids heating over here. Just gonna center that on as best I can. And then just take the ring and screw it on. And then I screw it on till it's fingertip tight. I'm gonna crank it again, it's just I'm holding a camera. So that's the completed jar. So once you have that jar done, just open up the lid of the canner, take and place the jar inside, and then I'll grab the next jar and I'll keep going until all my jars are filled. So all my jars are packed, ready to seal. Just set the lid down, turn the handle, and then for our recipe, we're going to select tomatoes, recipe number 5, and then we're going to select start. And then in 85 minutes, we will have our processed tomatoes. Now, I'm just going to say something about this Freshtech canner because I get a lot of questions about it. This is a steam canner. They actually make steam canners for the stovetop. I know a few individuals that own them. This is just the electronic version. I get a lot of people saying that you can't use an electric canner. You can use the Ball Freshtech Autocanner. It is USDA certified. It can only be used for items that you would normally water bath can. It has to be for high acid items like jellies, jams, pickles, fruits, and in this case tomatoes. So if you want to learn more about it, it's on the Ball website. I'll have it linked below. Otherwise, if you have any questions, you can leave me a comment. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.